LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Sterling K. Brown from the Hulu original series Paradise. The next chapter begins as Xavier's search for his wife takes him above ground, and what he finds will change everything. It was never just about the bunker. Tune in and discover the truth lies outside. Paradise, the official podcast, is now streaming, and stream Paradise Season 2 on February 23rd on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+.
Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Port Charles 411. Today we are talking about Lila Quartermaine, part 9. Last week, Lila passed away, but as it happens in soap operas and in life, when you pass away, that doesn't mean the drama ends.
Nope.
So this week we are going to discuss or share the story about Lila's will and how it made the Quartermaine family
even crazier.
A little bit more competitive than they usually have been.
Oh, competitive. That's a nice word.
Yes. So using soapcentral.com for the resource, which we've pretty much been using that in Curly Q Girl the past couple weeks, kind of forgot to mention a couple times. Sorry. But basically right after Lila passed away, you know, when you see that storyline turn that happens and you're like, oh, this is going to shift now because this thing happened. A hidden camera caught Heather and Edward kissing at the end of July 2004.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So in August of 2004, on August 2nd, Tracy takes a picture of Edward as he is kissing a conniving Heather. Unbeknownst to the rest of the Quartermaines, they are being watched by hidden cameras in the mansion. Later, Alan is eliminated from the... because, I'm sorry, why didn't this... So
you had mentioned the competition last episode. That it was like whoever was the best person was who was going to win.
Okay, just scroll to the end just so we can get a refresher. Lila's will stated that she will leave the bulk of her estate to the Quartermaine who behaves the most civil over the next 30 days. So this is where we pick up. And then, of course, like right after that is when, you know, of course, her widowed husband is kissing another woman. You see, exactly. Even the dog understands that.
Right.
So then, August 2nd, Tracy takes a picture of Edward as he kisses a conniving Heather. Unbeknownst to the rest of the Quartermaines, they're being watched by hidden cameras in the mansion. Later, Alan is eliminated from the competition for Lila's estate. Monica is the next to be eliminated from the competition for Lila's inheritance. So some of this, I could not get all the details from Soap Central, so I kind of had to go into their personal things. And I feel like some of these details are really needed because you're like, why were they eliminated? They were disqualified because they were trying to conspire against the rest of the family, like the two of them.
I mean, it's nice they were on the same team for once because usually they're conniving against each other.
Right. We saw Edward sitting at the boathouse and Heather came to find him. He tells her about his first wedding anniversary with Lila and how they danced at the boathouse under the moonlight. Edward tells her that today is his wedding anniversary. Heather offers to dance with him.
Ugh.
Yeah. He gets upset for her suggesting the dance, and she tries to apologize for any misunderstanding, but Edward won't listen. He tells her that she could never replace Lila, even if she tried, and accuses her of being in cahoots with Tracy to make him lose Lila's inheritance. Heather walks off. Later, she returns to apologize for suggesting in any way that she could replace Lila and tells him that she was only trying to comfort him. Edward sits there silently and doesn't respond. Emily finds him still at the boathouse and tells him she knows it was his and Lila's. She tells him she knows it was his and Lila's wedding anniversary and how they used to dance there under the moonlight. Edward finds great comfort in knowing that Emily remembered what the day meant. And then on August 4th, Tracy accused Emily of fooling around with Lucky grounds for elimination from Lila's challenge.
Nope.
Why? Why would that have been grounds for elimination? I don't
Because
know.
that's not what respectable young ladies do.
No, she was Nicholas then. Was she cheating? So that would not be in a civil manner.
There you go.
If they thought, I could be completely wrong on this whole timeline and whatever, but we both know, and many of you in the audience know, that was not the case. Then August 12th, Felicia tells the Quartermaine that she is Lila's appointed judge. Citing Ned's contempt at manipulating her, she eliminated him from the competition for Lila's inheritance. Georgie's attempt to make Dylan jealous with Lucas, her cousin, blows up in her face. I don't know why I copied that sentence.
Maybe that'll be part of the reason that Dylan gets disqualified. Maybe he does get jealous later.
I think I just copy and pasted too many sentences. I don't know. We'll see where this goes and if that stays in here.
All right.
Then the week of August 16th through 20th, the Quartermaines continue their underhanded tricks as they prepare for a family dinner. Each looking to win Lila's money, they all use their own ways to try to manipulate the outcome. Tracy invites Heather to dinner in hopes of ruining Edward's chances. Well, now Tracy's just using Lila, or using Heather, but Heather's not really in cahoots, I don't think. I can't remember. And I really didn't read this. While Edward tries to buy his way into the inheritance by offering Courtney a generous gift to her foundation. Lois calls Edward on his philanthropic manipulations, while Felicia busts him for kissing Heather. Felicia walks in on Heather and Edward kissing and toys with Edward's immediate fear of being cut out of Lila's will. Felicia tells him he's safe and that although she wouldn't choose Heather, Lila would want Edward to find happiness after her passing. Not 2 weeks later.
This is how long after she passed?
2 weeks. A month. I'm sorry, almost a month. A month to just about a month to the day.
All right.
Also, at this point, Heather was not a serial killer. However, Heather was not an upstanding citizen, shall we say.
Correct.
With a brainstorm. With a storm brewing outside, Edward confided to Dylan and Tracy that he had been hearing things in the house since Lila's death, believing it to be his wife's spirit. Yeah, because you already are hooking up with somebody else.
He didn't hook up with her. He just gave her some smoocheroos.
Still. August 23rd.
Are you going to haunt your husband if he's smoocherooing someone a month after you pass?
Yes. Okay. August 23rd through 27th. So this kind of dips in a little bit to a storyline that we've already talked about, but it matters. So I tried to weed out as much as I could. I guess I did read some of it. The team sensed someone during the seance. This was Brooklyn, Georgie, Sage, and Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Was Lucas also there?
I don't know. Lucas just felt older. So I don't know that he was part of this.
The channeling board. I like how they call it the channeling board and not a Ouija board. Okay, anyway, the channeling board warned them that someone would die that night. The door sprung open and Heather, who sat outside, was almost struck by lightning. Edward came into the room and admitted he believed that Lila was back to stop him from cheating on her with Heather. See, I also follow it made sense to me. In Good Will Hunting, when Robin Williams said, like, my wife died. That's not an end. Like, it's an end, but you didn't choose to not be with that person anymore. Like, they died.
Right.
And so, like, that's why he didn't start dating again, because his wife died.
Yes.
You know? So I think I would take the same stance. And there is nothing wrong with people that don't think that, but just me personally, I understand why.
I think a month after the love of your life dies is a little soon to be kissing someone else.
After 50 something years of marriage. Yeah.
Right.
But, so that's why I'm saying I understand Edward's thought process, but there is absolutely, so I'm not saying I'm totally against it. I'm saying for me personally, I understand why Edward was thinking he was cheating.
Right.
On her, especially with Heather. Come on.
Right.
Trent and Sage left the room and she tried to convince him that she was not responsible for what was happening. Again, they say Brooke, but it's Brooklyn.
Right.
Did not believe that Lila would come back as a vengeful spirit. I don't know. That woman was a sweetheart on Earth. I could definitely see her being like, no. Edward and Heather were left alone. He told her it was too soon after Lila's death to be with another woman. She told him that the guilt was natural, but that Lila would want him to be happy. Edward brought Heather to the room across from his room to spend the night, and they kissed. Monica told Ellen that she could get the backup generator working, only to discover it was broken. They flirted and headed upstairs. Meanwhile, Georgie told everyone she was frightened and wanted to leave. Brooklyn tried to convince them that it may not be Lila, but rather an evil spirit that was masquerading as her great-grandmother. Lucas tries to be very logical, finding a rational excuse for everything that had occurred up to that point. He told Brooklyn that maybe she was influencing the board subconsciously. A wheelchair came flying down the stairs and everyone screamed. Monica and Alan passed by and believed this was a prank by the teens. Alan warned them not to play with his mother's things. Alan and Monica went upstairs and Alan pulled her into one of the empty rooms for an illicit tryst. Why was an illicit tryst if they're married?
I don't know. Just because they're in a different bedroom?
I guess, or it's, whatever. Heather and Edward are kissing and fell onto the bed, only to find Monica and Alan there fooling around. Awkward. Alan accused Edward of betraying Lila's memory. They told him that Heather was just after his money. Tracy walked in. Tracy walks in on her brother and his wife getting ready to do husband and wife things, and her dad and a sociopath a month after her mom's wedding or death.
Yes.
Getting ready to. Okay. Anyone else understand now why Tracy has some trust issues? Tracy walked in and continued the accusations against Edward and Heather. She insisted that Edward should be eliminated for showing no virtue at all, and they all headed downstairs. I agree. Felicia showed up after having been called in on an emergency by Tracy, except for Tracy was making Heather, she was encouraging Heather to be with Edward, but then, never mind. That's on track for Tracy. Felicia showed up, and after having been called in on an emergency by Tracy, she insisted on hearing Edward's side of the story before eliminating him from the competition. Justice reluctantly defended Edward, leaving Faith outside. That's Faith Roscoe. Edward was questioned by Felicia. Heather asked to speak. They all bickered in front of Felicia. Justice got fed up and left. Felicia announced that she had rendered a decision as to who would be eliminated next. Amidst flickering candles in the sitting room, as Edward, Alan, Monica, Heather, Justice, and Alice look on, Tracy tries to persuade Felicia to disqualify Edward because of Edward's dalliance with Heather. But Justice argues that Lila would have wanted Edward to move on. Not a month later. Felicia announces that she has decided instead to eliminate Tracy from the competition. Meanwhile, Justice slips away and calls in a big favor, and then he makes arrangements to leave the country secretly with Faith. In the meantime, back in the sitting room, Tracy vows to have Lila's will invalidated and sue Felicia for fraud. The group is surprised when Heather suddenly appears to be channeling Lila's spirit.
Oh, geez.
Everyone presumes that Heather is running a con until Lila reminds Felicia about scarlet ribbons. Felicia explains that scarlet ribbons was the name of the first rose planted in Lila's rose garden. And Lila told Felicia that if Lila ever made an attempt to contact Felicia, Lila would use the code word scarlet ribbons. Tracy suggests that Felicia and Heather are in cahoots and demands that the two conspirators leave the house immediately. However, Edward and Felicia convince the group that Heather should try again to reach Lila, and Heather agrees. While Heather begins to warn them all of danger, Alice searches the adjoining room after hearing Faith move around.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Tracy suddenly demands that, air quotes, Lila should tell them who Lila believes should inherit Lila's fortune. As Tracy makes her demands, lightning flashes, thunder crashes outside, a wind blows out all the candles, and the backup generator suddenly quits. When the candles are lighted again, Heather is missing. Tracy continues to argue that it is all an act being put on by Heather to manipulate the disbursement of Lila's fortune. As Alan and Tracy search for Heather, they come across Alice, who insists she has not seen Heather. However, after Alan and Tracy leave, Heather comes out of hiding, and Heather thanks Alice for telling her about overhearing Felicia and Lila talking about scarlet ribbons, so that Alice and Heather can make sure that it is Edward who inherits Lila's fortune. Heather tells Alice that lying to Edward about not seeing her will help Edward in the long run because it will help him to eventually inherit Lila's money, and thanks her for telling her about what she overheard. When she overheard Lila tell Felicia one time about a secret code of scarlet ribbons for them to use. Edward shows up and overhears part of the conversation. He asks Alice why she lied to him about not seeing Heather when she did. Heather sticks up for Alice and tells Edward that Alice just found her in the room. Edward dismisses Alice so he can talk to Heather alone. He asks Heather why she went hiding from him. She tells him she was scared of Lila's spirit. She explains she doesn't understand how she could have been possessed by Lila's spirit when she doesn't remember it at all. Edward comforts Heather and hugs her. Alan and Monica walk in and are disgusted by Edward's belief that Heather is innocent of any wrongdoing and believes Lila's spirit was channeled through Heather.
Oh, this is one I just threw in like a little, like, we didn't have to get into all of it, but it quickly explains some other stuff that might come in. This is when the kids were having that seance, and this is when we found Sage murdered.
Okay.
But they had considered that it could have been Heather, because if she had been looking for the papers from Lila and she had seen Sage, she might have killed her to keep quiet, which also goes to show the history track record of, they thought Heather Weber would kill a teenager or a young 20s over papers.
Yes.
So,
but we're okay with Edward moving on with her.
But no, not just that, just like where we are right now with, okay, well, when did she actually start this? You know, if they thought that means that she had some kind of behavior that led them to believe she would have murdered Sage.
Right. Oh, excuse me. Tracy even tried to blackmail Felicia, saying she wouldn't tell Alcazar that Georgie had locked Sage in the freezer prior to the murder if Felicia would award Lila's inheritance money to her. This caused the family to turn on Tracy. Felicia swore to Tracy that if another threat against Georgie was made, that she herself would dig up something so horrible out of Tracy's past that it would send Tracy to prison.
Go Felicia.
Mm-hmm. Alice, Edward, and Heather were wandering the mansion together. Suddenly, Heather again seemed to be possessed by Lila's spirit, warning that Emily was in danger. Edward raced away. Alice was impressed by Heather's act, but Heather swore she wasn't pretending this time. In her room, Emily came face to face with the masked killer.
Oh,
dun,
no.
Dun, dun. August 30th to September 3rd, Heather again spoke as if she was Lila. She claimed not to be faking this time. Edward left to warn Emily about what Lila had said. Heather threatened Alice that she would tell Edward about Alice's involvement in the Scarlet Ribbon scenario, and Alice responded with a veiled threat that she had Edward's best interest at heart, and Heather better not try to take advantage of him. I would be very scared of Alice. I would not be threatening her.
Yeah.
Alan and Monica tried to convince Felicia that they had redeemed themselves and that they should be allowed back in the inheritance contest. September 6th through the 10th at the Quartermaine mansion, Felicia explains to Alice, Tracy, Ned, Monica, Alan, and Edward that Lila had hoped that the competition for Lila's estate would bring out the best in the Quartermaine family. But instead, the competition had produced the opposite effect, and the family had exposed their worst traits. As Felicia talks, Heather slips away to the sideboard and adds a mysterious powder to a glass of orange juice, then returns to the group and hands the glass to Edward. At the same time, Tracy blasts Edward for fooling around with Heather so soon after Lila's death. As Tracy leaps to the conclusion that Edward is the only one left to receive Lila's estate, Alice argues that Lila would have wanted Edward to have Lila's fortune. As they all argue,
then she would have just left it to him and not made them compete for it.
Right. As they all argue, Edward grows increasingly ill until Edward finally keels over. As Heather insists that something is seriously wrong with Edward, Alan refuses to do anything because he believes that Edward is faking. Felicia
so at this point, this is both of his children. So Tracy refused to give him his heart medication.
Yep.
And Alan, a doctor who has a legal, like he has to, refuses
like,
to help
you're
because
faking.
Exactly. Okay,
Felicia,
sorry. I forgot that Alan also dad of the year right there. But we love him.
Yep. Felicia becomes angry at the family's failure to respond to Edward's crisis and calls an ambulance herself. Later, as Edward is rushed away by the paramedics, Felicia blasts Edward's family for their callous disregard for Edward's obvious medical emergency. Although Alan reminds everyone that his father has a history of faking heart attacks at opportune times, Felicia declares that she is wiping the slate clean and will give all of them one last chance to prove that they can be as selfless as Lila believed they could be. Edward is surprised when he awakens later in the hospital room with Tracy beside him. When Tracy informs Edward that Felicia wiped the slate clean and they will all have one more chance to win Lila's fortune, Edward becomes agitated and calls for Felicia, who immediately removes Tracy from the room and declares to the others that anyone who hovers around Edward in his weakened condition will be immediately disqualified in the quest for Lila's fortune. Heather reminds everyone that since Heather is not a Quartermaine, Heather will be free to stay beside Edward. After Heather goes back into Edward's room, Ned warns Felicia that Felicia has just turned Edward over to a veteran schemer. However, Felicia assures Ned that Felicia has all of the bases covered, including Heather's base. At the same time, Heather assures Edward that she will not be leaving his side anytime soon, and Edward welcomes Heather's attention. And then September 13th through 17th, Alice threatens to tell the police and Felicia everything Alice knows about Heather's schemes. But Heather argues that she just created a medical crisis for Edward before Felicia could eliminate Edward from the competition for Lila's fortune when she drugged him, pointing out that Edward is now enjoying some restful peace far away from the designs of his scheming family. Heather promises to keep better care of Lila's garden. Then Heather assures Alice that only a forensic genius would be able to discover traces of the drug in Edward's blood. Well, I need to know the name of that drug.
No, I did not hear that. You did not hear that. We are not all accomplices to you, Amanda.
And then October 5th, the Quartermaines gather at the mansion to hear Felicia announce the winner of Lila's estate. After Tracy objects and others back her up, Felicia unceremoniously ousts Heather from the meeting. She then dismisses family members one by one until only Justice remains to be the winner. Tracy is disgusted at the news, but Justice vows to use his newfound fortune to do good deeds in the spirit of his grandmother. After initial fighting in the family, Edward later tells Justice that he is pleased that he was the winner.
So here's my question. Justice died 2 years later.
Where did that fortune go?
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing in his write-up that talks about it.
I wonder if it just went to the Mary May house.
Okay, we'll say that. Yep. Okay, I'm good with that.
Because he didn't have any kids, right?
No.
So I would think it just went to Mary May Ward house.
He had a ton of cousins. We know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't divide it by all the cousins, or they'll each only get $2. So we'll just give it all to the Mary May house.
Yes. Okay. I didn't think about that until I was like, wait a second. I'm like, what happened to that money?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he said he would do good. So we'll have to talk about Justice sometime. Hopefully they don't bring him back from the dead.
Right.
I mean, he's one of those characters that...
Right. He was amazing when he was on the show, but he did die. Like, he should stay dead.
Yes.
The way that it was written.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the fun aftermath of Lila's passing. I forgot all about all of that.
Yeah.
I just remember, I think that probably the reason, I mean, obviously given, 2004. So, I mean, we were younger. I mean, I was newly a single mother and I was still in school and working. So didn't have a DVR. My VCR.
Yeah, I can't imagine why you wouldn't remember every moment of that.
I know, or that I probably didn't watch as much, depending on if I remembered to keep my TV on and my VCR program to tape it while I was gone. That's what we had to do back in the old days, kids.
Yep.
But I also feel like I was so disgusted by Heather and Edward that I just probably didn't pay attention to it. It was like, no, I don't really care about this, so I'm just going to ignore you.
Yeah.
But all right, so that really is the bulk of Lila. Next week, we're going to read the write-up that we were originally going to read.
That will take 15 minutes tops.
Exactly. And so you will all appreciate the fact that I nerded out.
I appreciate your nerding out and getting all the information for us. I just think that it is funny because there was a very quick, not in-depth overview that could have been done on Mother's Day and been done. And now we are happy to be done by Labor Day.
I guess we could have done it and then I could have been upset about it and been like, no, we're starting this now. But no, we're doing it backwards. So now you heard everything. And then next week, we're just going to talk more about, also there's things that have happened in memory of Lila.
Right.
And we've seen her ghost come back and things like that. So there are a couple storylines that still involve her, even though she was no longer with us. I don't think there's anything else about that.
Okay.
So join us on Monday as we recap this week's shows.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to peer54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Peer 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at peer54podcast@gmail.com.